Thank you. 1981, June 22nd, I joined. One thing I remember, I came to the department. Department head came late. He was very surprised that I have come. He said, have you really come? We didn't think that you will come. That was the first statement I remember from him. But now that you have come, join. So I had a faculty position. By the way, I never got interviewed for that. I got it without interview. In fact, the only interview that I attended in my whole career is when two interviews, in fact. One was when I became a professor. I became from assistant professor, directly professor. There was one interview I attended. The second interview that I attended was when I went for directorship in 2001, and I didn't get directorship. But that's the only two interviews I've attended. So I don't know how to attend interviews. Every other thing I got it directly by without. So, but one interesting thing I remember, and I want to point that out more, what IIT was and how IIT have changed. So I was then said that you have to go to the administration office. I asked the head, where is it? I'll send somebody with you. And I was sent to a deputy registrar or assistant registrar probably. So I went there. There was no one in that room. So I waited. I said, can I go inside and sit down? No, say you have to wait. Assistant registrar. You can't just go into the room. But after about 20-25 minutes, he came. Then he got me in. And he went around doing his own work. I told him that I'm a new faculty. I'm joining here in electrical engineering department. So he says, wait. And then he went off again somewhere, came back after 20 minutes. And then he came to look at it. He says, where are the copies of your all the certificates? I said, what copies? I said, I have the original certificate. He said, you are supposed to bring copies. I said, I didn't know that I have to bring copies. I have brought the original. He said, can't you read? I said, what do you mean you can't read? He showed me in the offer letter, in the back, in the smallest letter, which even at that time I could not read. It said that you are supposed to come with the copies. So I said, yeah, but sorry, I didn't read it. But can you tell me where the copier is? I'll get the copies done. He says, that's not my job. I I know that's not a job. I'm just trying to ask you. There must be in the campus somewhere copies are to be, the machines are there. He didn't say anything. He walked out. Kept me sitting. Again, after 15 minutes, he came. This time he gave me a bunch of white papers. And he says, make a true copy of all your certificates. And I actually made it with hand. That was my first day experience. Made copies with the hand. He came, put a stamp, countersigned. Probably that's the only copies that the institute has. Institute does not have a copy of any of my certificates from undergraduate to PhD or anything like that.
We'll try to find it for you.
So probably that's all, because nobody else ever after that took copies. Well, this is what the institute was. It gave me a very good picture of the institute. There was another incident, I don't want to get into it, at Taramani House, which is... But to just give you a picture, again, 881, which most of you won't know, and many of these things drove me, what I have done, is first, I wanted to get a telephone for my home. My parents were in Calcutta. It took me 8 years to get a telephone. And in fact, that was a burning desire. Why can't people in India get a telephone? And that's the time when I met Bhaskar, I jumped at it and said, come on, let's make sure that everybody gets a telephone. So that was a driving. But it was not just about a telephone. I wanted to get a scooter so that I can drive around the campus. Such a large campus. Cycle I had purchased on first or second day, but I wanted a scooter. Somebody told me Chetak is a good scooter, and I went to the shop. I looked at it, and there was agency somewhere, I don't remember where. They told me the price. I paid the money, and I said, "Where can?" He asked me to choose the color, all those things carefully. I did something, and I said, "Where can I pick it up, or when can I get it?" He looked at me. There is a 4-year waiting list. 4-year waiting list for purchase of scooter. But again, these are things that hit me very hard. Why? I couldn't answer. In fact, much of my life gets shaped by this. Then I wanted to get a LPG gas cylinder. First day I had bought a kerosene stove. I was cooking with that. I was alone at that time. I used to cook. But I wanted to get a gas cylinder. And by now I was prepared for waiting list. So somebody pointed out, this is the place you go for a gas cylinder. So I went there. There was an old man. He was sitting there. And I said that, I want to apply for a gas cylinder. So he asked me, when did you apply? I said, no, I'm not applied. This is the first time I want to apply. Your parents must have applied. I said, no, my parents did not live in Chennai. They live in Calcutta. They have gas cylinder. Nobody has applied. I want to apply afresh. He looked at me. He brought some register. He said, okay, note down your name, address and all that. Fill that up. But let me tell you, I don't think you will get the gas cylinder in your lifetime. But still apply. Your children will benefit. And one of the best marriage gift that I got was when my friends walked in with a gas cylinder. She literally walked in with a gas cylinder. And because she had 2 cylinders, and at that time there was a loophole that you could give one, and then you could apply for a second cylinder and get it. So that's how we got the gas cylinder. And from that time, after marriage, at least our cooking became a little easier. But coming back to India, I had come with a desire to try to transform India, and these incidents were kind of reinforcing, something has to be done. We had formed a group called PPST, Patriotic and People-Oriented Science and Technology. We're studying what can be done. Getting somewhere, not getting anywhere. So I started looking at that very little work goes on with industry, practically none around the time. Nothing in our department. Even outside I went around, nothing much. So I started connecting with industry, trying to connect with industry. Through my family connection, I was able to visit a few industries. Talk to them. And there's a very strong view. Everything, all technologies came from outside the country. Nothing from India. You stamped it and produced it. When you talk to them, said, can academics help? Said, no, academics cannot make this kind of technology. They can't make products. They are interested in publications. I will talk to our colleagues here. And by the way, I should have started with people like V.G.K. Murthy, Radhakrishnan Rao, Bapeshwar Rao, Shankaran, Kuprajulu, Narayan Rao, Anthony Reddy. These were fairly soon adopted me. I was about 10 years younger than any other faculty member in the department. Somehow I got along and very well, and they all kind of adopted me in the sense that they used to like me a lot, all of them. And the names that I mentioned, there are a few others, even V.V. Shastri, but probably he liked me also. And but all of them advised me and helped me because I was willing to do something, run all the time. And that's the part they liked. So when I started going to the industry, I found that and the academia said industry never wants to fund us. No point. They will only use imported technology. There was a huge gap. One of the industries that I visited was WS Industries. Somehow I was taken on a good tour. I understood that. And they were making power line carrier communication equipment. And I had also gone to ITI Naini. They were also trying to make power line carrier communications equipment, or also fiber optic communication, long distance, both long distance. That was something that was the first thing that I started doing. As Bhaskar pointed out, I was more on surface acoustic wave devices. Communications I did not know, but I started learning fiber optic communication and then power line carrier communication. I understood much of the equipment. Now, what I had done here is that since I had never worked with, I did not know what a digital gate was, by the way. I did not know what an AND gate was, NOT gate was. But I had these young undergraduate students. Somehow I got very friendly with them. I was not married. I used to have lunch with them in their hostel, and bunch of them, whether it's a Thomas Alexander, Deepak Kanchandani, or number of them, Malyadagan, many of them, Professor Kalyan Raman, Surya Narayan, many of them got very close to them, a large number. Normally, 20 students used to do BTech projects with me, pretty much from 80 2 onwards. That time there was no such rule that you can't take. So large number of flock, because I had somehow got access to a lab and they will work there. They will work whole night. I actually learned technology from them. I learned digital circuits with them. I learned analog circuits partly from Professor Anthony Reddy and a little bit from them, and started learning to build with them. I had never built. So I remember fairly early, there was supposed to be 82 or 83, 82 probably. There was supposed to be a open house, and these kids came and they said they want to make a micro mouse which will solve the maze way back. Microprocessor, I didn't even know. They taught me microprocessors. I learned it. Professor Raman was there. He also taught me a bit, but actually it's the students who taught me. And we built a micro mouse which solved the maze. And it was of all these students. Mandalagar was very involved. They were all working nights. I used to also work till late and work with them. I learned a lot from them. So when I had visited WS Industries, I had seen some of these things, and they were importing equipment. They were selling this power line carrier communication. I think it was a 8-channel equipment at 1 lakh rupees. And they had reasonable amount of sale. All the technology came from outside. So somewhere I was invited to give a talk in the city, somewhere near the beach somewhere. I remember there was some probably IIT or IEEE, something was there. I was invited, and I was 30-year-old, didn't know much. I actually gave the talk, and I mentioned that here is a company. I talked about industry academia, nothing happens. And here is a company called WS Industries, which make this power line carrier communication equipment, and they sell it at 1 lakh rupees. Technologies from Canada, but they pretty much get all the components at 80,000 rupees, and then they do a assembly and sell it. If they gave me 1 lakh rupee, in 1 year I will develop the whole technology. No, I don't know what came over me, how I mentioned that, but I did said that. And next day newspaper prints it. Indian Express. I get a call by 10:30 from the chairman of the WS Industries. I was scared. But what did I do? He told me, Professor Jhunjhunwala, we want to see you. Can I send you a car? Can you come to see me? I said, I'll come. I couldn't say no. I had made a mess. I realized I made a mess only when his call came. So I went there ready to apologize and all those kind of things. He asked me, he said, do you think you can really make this? I said, I understand everything. I've never made things, made small things, but we can certainly try, and 1 lakh will be enough. He took out a checkbook, gave me 1 lakh rupees. That was the first industry academia thing that I had. Today worth 1 crore rupees easily. How he gave me, I don't know. He said, go, do it. I came here, that time there was no project students and all that. So I had this fourth and fifth year students. They were fourth year students, large number. I actually presented this whole thing to about 20 of them. 10 of them volunteered, and they worked for about 9 to 12 months. We built everything. Everything as a prototype on desktop, it was working. Only problem was, many days it won't work, and it will take us 1 or 2 hours to somehow fix something to make it work. And 1 year is passed. They had also deputed one person, that Venkat Subramaniam. He used to come, and his role was Miller. He used to discuss with us, this is the way things happen and all that. We learned a bit from him. And here the students had built it. Once they built it, but it was still a prototype. And 12 months I was getting over. And suddenly I get a call saying that 12 months is over. I want to come and see the thing, whatever you have done. I was trying to tell him, sir, it doesn't matter, I'll come. He came, he saw me. I was quite upset, quite worried that again he will be very upset that I have taken the money and not really made anything. It was certainly not manufacturable. There was no value engineering done. It was just a prototype which will work most of the time, a few times by tapping a table. He came, he saw it working. He seemed to be very happy. I told him, sir, sorry, it will take more time to ruggedize it. And he says, can I take this to my office? I said, sir, you are paid for it. How can I say no? In this form itself? I said, yes. Next day, they took it. I didn't hear from him. I thought I will get a call and a good scolding. I was prepared for it. One day I remember talking to Radhakrishna, what do I do if that happens? And he told me something. I don't remember what he told me. But 2.5 months later, he once again calls me and says, I want you to come. And today you have lunch also with us. 10:30 car will come and 10 o'clock vehicle will come. So I went there and I saw sitting with 3 Canadian gentlemen. Were introduced, they were the one who transferred the technology to them. And as soon as I came, he says, this is Professor Jhunjhunwala. He called me professor and he has come from US. He used to work in power line carrier communication. All that was lies. And he knew how to do it. And he came to me and he has developed the whole thing. As I told you, your thing does not make any sense. 80,000 rupees I buy, 1 lakh rupees I sell, I merely assemble. This guy has done it at 30,000 rupees per piece. I try to tell him, sir. But he kept me quiet. He said 30,000 rupees. And now I'm going to manufacture this. I no longer need to continue your technology transfer. We are going to close it today. And we are going to, we can discuss the next generation, the higher end, which was not 8 channel, probably 30 or 40 channel, or power line carrier communication. And we had a nice, and then he took us them all, and along with me, and there was a nice glass case in which my model was kept. He opened the glass case, and fortunately it was still working. And he demonstrated to them. These people then started asking me questions, whether I understood things, and I did understand everything. Except it was not rugged. There was nothing in that technology that I didn't understand. So, by the way, multiplexer, simple multiplexer. Actually, later on, fiber optic kit I made using that concept only. So, when we did that, we explained this, that. They kind of felt that I really understood the whole technology and everything very well. We had a nice lunch. Chairman gave me a memento and some thing, thanked me. And by now I understood that he's doing something. I don't fully understand what for. I came back, he sent me back. That evening I get a call from Venkat Subramanian, my industry interface, that they have agreed to give the whole technology at 30,000 rupees per line. And we have increased from 1,000 numbers to about 10,000 numbers now. We'll buy. And we are also going to reduce the price to 60,000 rupees. We'll make a huge money now. And so very happy. I often wonder, for the first industry academia work, did I succeed? Did I fail? No. The company which gave me money made tons of money after that. Simply by buying it at 27, 28,000, selling at 65, they made, and 10,000 the number, they made tons of money. Chairman kept on talking of WS, kept on talking about me to all the industries here. So I got a huge industrial reputation that there is one professor, young professor in IIT who can develop products. That's how my interface started. I never delivered the right technology. They made a lot of money. Country gained a lot. Price came down from 1 lakh to 60,000. These youngsters who worked on it became very confident. I also became very confident because the next technology that I took and the next technology that I took, actually, we could develop our technology. So I very often wonder, in fact, I was telling that is it something which succeeded or failed? But that was my first experience, and after that there was no stopping. Of course, the only other person who was trying to take up projects which build something was Professor Rana, and I joined him. And I started working with him. By the way, we went around. I was the one who was going around bringing projects. I was a technical face for him. He didn't do much technical work, but his good background management and all that. I got the work done. That's the time I started hiring large number of people, project staff, because in the fiber optics lab, I must have hired 25 people I was started managing. My MS also started, and then of course later on Bhaskar came and we expanded it. There are a few things, by the way, that our extension for CSD was actually built by money that we brought. It was not there. And then the top floor was much later built by Analog Devices giving money. And the top floor of this building, also we brought the money from industry, from Usha Martin. So many of these things we have actually built. Today, people don't do this. We actually contributed and did this and handed over then things. We don't. But actually, that was a beginning. And then, of course, there are breakthroughs, as Bhaskar points out, and there is a large number of stories. I can keep telling stories. And I have one day what happened. 2.5 years back, just around COVID time, alumni of ours, close friend of mine, Kannan, who graduated from mechanical engineering, he had come and was spending some time in Chennai, and he is a filmmaker. He has gone to Bombay, and he is a Bombay filmmaker. And he says, Ashok, I want to interview you. And he actually interviewed me about 16 to 18 hours, and we shot the videos. And all these things that I'm talking about, and many more, how did WS Industries, how was the research park took place. 1998 was the first time I made a proposal about the research park to the alumni. I had gone to US with Professor Natarajan and Professor Muthukrishnan. That's the time we made a presentation about this, how the land was finally given. I met Jayalalitha for 5 minutes, and she identified and first given the land. Except that by the time the policy, by the time it was actually handed over, she lost the election. And then I was told that if we go with the same file to Karunanidhi, there's no way you will get that land. So file was buried, and there was some Vishwanathan chief secretary, I don't remember his name exactly. He is the one who masterminded that another file get created, and then we got the land. So this was all story. But we did this. We did a lot of these things, and so what we did that after this film, it was transcribed and poorly transcribed. Then I am doing the corrections, and then we are kind of polishing. So I will even start bringing out the whole thing soon. I have written already 3 chapters are almost ready. Maybe we may bring it out in book, but it will tell you how the industry academia intercept. It will tell you the Kodak story, the number of stories that he has not told, the way we went and met Advani, Vajpayee, number of times we have the kind of problems that the country can you can get into. But all those are learning, immense learning. And looking back, I can all smile at it. Of course, they were very tough days. But I can smile at it and also say that it was our mistake that we didn't anticipate all that. It was all, where does the learning come from? So part of the reason I'm writing all this is because a lot of learnings that have been involved. Department-wise, the names that I mentioned, and a few more I may not have mentioned, very high quality faculty member. They really, really helped me. Throughout Professor V. Rao helped me in the beginning. Bhaskar came in by the time I settled, 87 only I started, though we were opposite each other, I started getting to know him. But even the 6-7 years there made a huge difference. If they wouldn't have helped me, somehow they adopted me as a young kid of the department. As I told you, 7 years before me also nobody had joined. 74 to 86, I was the only one joined. So I was willing to take more load. I have taught many times 3 courses. Started with communication because that was what I needed. I knew nothing. I took Heikin and started learning. Did poor job first couple of years, but then started doing okay. Learned. Then Bhaskar taught me so many things. One of the best things that I found is learn from your students, learn from your youngsters. Almost all the engineering that I have learned, everything that I have learned is learned initially early period from my students. And I'm mentioning people like Thomas Alexander, Deepak Kanchandani, and some others. But there are many, many more. And later on, I learned so much from Bhaskar, learned so much from Timothy, learned from many of you, Giridhar, Devendra Jalia. Each of them learned. Gaurav, still I sit down with him. Anil Prabhakar, I sit down. Can you explain to me? That's the only way I learn. I don't read that much. I actually have changed my... I have 7, 8, 9 PhD students, each working on a totally, entirely new area. Because I looked at risk taking. I've taken a huge number of risks. Very fairly early that I was told by my grandfather that, well, if you want another story, I can tell you, this was something that happened. My grandfather called me when he was a Gandhian living in a village in Bihar, and he was thrilled when I got into IIT. I couldn't understand, but he called me and said I must meet him. I went and met him. He told me I couldn't understand what he told me. But after that, I finished my IIT, went abroad, came back, and when joining IIT Madras, I went back and asked him. He told me a very interesting story. 1954 or so, the 5 IITs were announced. The Gandhians who had fought for independence movement, and by now we're all under the Sarvodaya umbrella with Vinoba Bhave. They were a little perplexed. In their mind, our fight for independence was fight for egalitarian society. And here the concept of IIT was presented as a very non-egalitarian, very elitist society. Why is this being done? They went to Vinoba Bhave, and Vinoba Bhave in his usual style said, go and talk to people in your village, elders in your village, and come back after 4 months, 3-4 months. And there was a meeting that took place in Bihar by about 70 to 80 people, each of them bringing their feedback from village about IITs. And the conclusion of that 2-day meeting was that IITs are good. Why are they good? Well, Nalanda was good for society. Takshashila was good. You always need in a society some best teachers, best students, most resources. During war, you don't disturb them. Nalanda was never... All the wars took place without disturbing Nalanda. I don't know where is it written in the history, but that's what he told me. So you need to train them, and the IITs are like that, and it's supposed to train the best. But I said, how do you know they are functioning? So he told me one thing, that basically they came to the conclusion that the graduates of IIT, and since many of you are graduates of IIT, will never ask the question, but what can I do? I said, how can I, if you encounter a problem, if society encounters a problem, it is up to you to solve them. You can never say, but what can I do? I said, how can you put the load on us graduates? He says, well, you got the best resources, best teaching, you are the best. If you can't solve it, who else can? And I have followed that principle throughout my life. And therefore, I have always taken risk. As Bhaskar was pointing, I've taken a whole lot of risk. Only later on recently somebody from State Bank of India pointed out. I was used to be in the board of State Bank of India when we were borrowing money for research park. We borrowed up to 400 crore rupees in different tranches. And apparently there is a signature of institute and there is a signature of mine. The way the signature of mine is done is, it's almost like a personal liability. He says somebody, if they do not in State Bank, in Canara Bank, the way it was put, and I don't remember now how it was done like that, but so we took the risk. We took so many risks. We continue to take risk. But fortunately, many of the risk has produced results. If you look from the WS Industries days, in one sense, one can tell the project as failure. Another way, it can be a success. Now, one more important thing that Bhaskar did not talk about. When we were looking for telephones for everyone in India, the key thing we figured out, the reason why telephones are not available to everyone in India, but did not make economic sense. Because it costed in 80s and early 90s 40,000 rupees to make a telephone. And if you take depreciation, interest rate, and cost of operation and maintenance, you needed 1200 rupees per month of telephone bill to break even. Now, Bhaskar says that was my salary in 84. We realized that this 40,000 has to become 10,000 rupees. Then we had done a back calculation by looking at the economics. By 2000 or so, enough economic prosperity will be there. If we can make it at 10,000 rupees, 100 million phones can come. And we knew that backbone network, which I was earlier working on, fiber optic network, that cost was coming down from 7,000 rupees to 500 rupees. Switches at which used to cost 11,000, Sam Petroda had done the work and was costing only 1,000 rupees. The main thing was local loop, which was 25,000 rupees in 93 when we started our wireless in local loop. We had said we'll make it 8,000 rupees, so the total cost is 10,000 rupees. We actually achieved that. In 1996, we gave telephones in Adyar and Besantnagar area, and one of them was Eden Restaurant. She still remembers and gives me huge discount whenever I go there, because we gave her a telephone in 96. But we actually did that, and it broke the bottom. Of course, everything was done to destroy us. Partly our error, partly that's the way. We never understood the competition. We never understood what it meant. But finally, we did achieve in 2001 100 million telephones. And that time, the cost of telephone had come down to 10,000 rupees. And again, it was saturating to 300 million telephones by 2004 or something like that. And that's a time another leap had to take place, and the cost of the backbone network came to 2,000 rupees. The whole telephone, other than handset, 2,000 rupees. And that's what basically has given us 1.4 billion. So one of the basic understanding that we got, it is the economics that has to go hand in hand in technology. And the whole whether we did, so, I mean, this was the first time, ATM, we had done this telephony in the villages. I remember in Melur near Madurai, we had set an internet kiosk. I persuaded Wagul, ICICI chairman, to come with me and see that internet kiosk. We flew over to Madurai and we drove to Melur, and there was a young woman of 18-year-old who was running a kiosk. He was highly impressed. He saw everything. There was a small video, 35 kilobit per second, thanks to Oops Karthik and Devendra Jalihal, that we are actually doing. He was mighty impressed. He said, wow, this is something, 2003 or something like that. And while coming back, I said, sir, why can't we put now ATM in every village? That will take care of financial inclusion. He says, no, Ashok, ATM costs 10 lakhs rupees to install. Business in a village will not be enough for me to break even. So I told him, sir.
So there was an old note, new note problem.
And then there was an old note, new note problem. I asked him, what do you want the price to be? He says, 1 lakh rupees. I said, fine, we'll do it. And we in our lab, we had person like Ajit Narayan, then L. Kannan, who was our alumnus, who is currently professor of practice. We got them and we built our first ATM at 75,000 rupees. The reason why we are able to do this is we refuse to go and see Wagul told me many times, we'll go open all the ATMs and show you what is the technology inside. I said, no, once we see that, we'll never be able to replicate it. There was one more interesting problem, and that fellow Anil Prabhakar was involved in that. The work used to go on in the first room, I don't remember the number. I used to go and work there. Early morning I used to come. Whole night people would work. One of the problems is we are told that in the villages we will only be able to recycle notes. So you have to put old notes, and old notes can get stuck. And if 2 notes come, it will be a disaster. You have to distinguish between 1 note and 2 notes with old notes. The NCR and Dabold, the imported ATMs, did not do that. Now,
One of the new notes is villagers don't trust me.
And villagers don't trust. That was another thing. We saw that and we took it one, and they say, this must be a fake note. And so we are trying to do with old notes, and very difficult to distinguish between one note and two notes. We are trying all kinds of weight, thickness, nothing was working. And we remember that we had to do it at very low cost. One day Anil Prabhakar walks in. He said, Ashok, you have forgotten that first year we teach a course where we say if 2 points are very close to each other, you take exponential and they will go out. So figure out how you can do exponential. That's all he told me. He probably knew more, but he didn't tell me. But it took me a few minutes to figure out, not few minutes, a few hours, that you pass a light, LED, pass a light, one note will pass a certain light, exponential loss, another note will get another. We are able to solve that problem. And we actually delivered the ATM at 75,000 rupees. We are barred from selling it to banks because we did not use Windows. We are using Linux. And banks told Linux is not safe. Windows is the only. I was on the board of State Bank of India and still could not, and Vagul was a friend, still could not penetrate the banks to accept this. We had got into a lot of trouble, but we sold some here, there and all that. But what happened? NCR and Diebold brought down the price to 2 lakhs. From 10 lakhs, the price went down to 2 lakhs. So again, you have to sort of see that when you are pioneer, you are breaking, you may finally be defeated in the business. For a long time, we are defeated in the business. When we found Midas finally, we did get fairly large order, 400, 500 crore rupees, and we got into trouble. Finally, the company got into order. We actually, it is on Tejas. When I persuaded Deshpande to form Tejas, and we two of us founded it, that alone has now reaped. Of course, wireless work continued, and till 2008-9 I was involved, CVIT and all that. Then I let Bhaskar continue. Because I remember that 2011 crisis or 10 crisis, or 9 or 10 crisis, when there was huge power shortage in Tamil Nadu. And we used to get, Chennai used to get 4-hour power cut, and that all the evening. IIT used to get 2 hours. I don't know who had bargained and got us 2 hours. It used to be painful in the summer. And I remember talking to Bhaskar, why doesn't somebody, what we have done for wireless, why isn't somebody done in power area? And that's the time he told Ashok, nobody else will do it. If you want to do it, we have to do it. And that's what he remembered. And we got into it. And that's the first time I realized that solar produced DC power. And we are converting DC to our friend CC. Kumarvel came and showed me we have to do this DC to AC. Then we have to put it in the battery. That's also DC. AC to DC again. From battery, we'll take it out DC. Again, we have to convert AC. And then we'll have to push it to the combine with the grid and push it into the lights and fans. And one day it sort of said that why all these things? This was the cost. Can I do solar DC? Everything in DC form. Battery was DC. But by the way, the LEDs were also coming in that time. We thought that we can make BLDC fan, which will consume less power. Electronics was anyway DC. So we came up with solar DC. And that's how we started with this. And Bhaskar was always involved conceptually, though he had by now dean and almost becoming director. So he couldn't spend much time, but we did that. And everywhere we have taken risk. I have taken more risk in my life than one can imagine. What is there to lose? Fortunately, I said, I remember the first time we said that, I remember a story from Gandhiji that I have one dhoti and one chhatri. That's all I have. Nothing to lose. So if you push me hard enough, I'll walk out with those. And I think more or less we followed the same principle. We didn't desire anything except that's the reason Bhaskar, I, Timothy, all three of us said we will not take stakes in the company. We didn't desire to earn money. Our life we did not require money. IIT was giving enough. Till 2006, yes, it was tough. I remember when my son was going to go to engineering and he had not written, he probably didn't even write IIT, and he wanted to go to Anna University Biotechnology, and his rank was 18 and there were only 12 seats for the open category and he was not going to get in. I was starting to call Vellore and some of the other universities, and they said, sir, 5 lakhs we take, for you we'll do 4 lakhs. I had got, by that time, Padma Shri. I didn't have 4 lakhs. That was the only time I remember I felt I don't have money. Fortunately, he got into Anna University. By the way, we never understood their system. I mean, open, in the first 17, there were 12 of them were for backward and MBC. They all took the free seats. That small amount of fees, my son was 4th or 5th and he got it. But anyway, that's all. That's what is done. Today, I'll also say we built a lot of technology, created. By the time we started research park and incubation cell, we knew all the way how to fight in the market. We knew how to fail and get up. And that's the reason companies after companies have succeeded in research park. I will stop here. More, I can go on and on, but I sort of say, maybe others want to talk. But I've learned a lot. I've learned from whom whenever I have a little problem, I tell Shanti, can you explain to me? Of course, one of my best teacher was Anthony Reddy. I remember I wanted to learn analog circuits because we were building something. And he taught me in 1.5 hours, which I remember. And at a first level, he said, I'll teach you level 0, no complexities. I will teach you op-amp, the simplest form of op-amp. And you use the simplest form of op-amp, you will be able to understand the rest of the circuitry. And to date, I'm able to understand a lot because of that. But I have gone to Shanti, I've gone to Anil, I've gone to Bhaskar any number of times. Anybody, Nitin has taught me. And the only thing that I will tell, and please pardon me if you don't, a large number of my best students came back. They are doing very well. I was very proud. In fact, I helped it to attract many of them and got them a faculty position. There was an incident, and I'm telling you more as a joke, but it's a very nice incident in some way. We were talking about this MS projects was always a issue. Is it a backdoor entry and all that? And in the industry and in research park, what do we do? And so I remember I was defending that this is the right thing to do, and these MSY projects are very important and they will build systems. And there was a comment, what is there in building system? These PCBs, just putting wires together. A comment came from one of our young faculty. There is nothing in that. What is there to do that? And one of my biggest joy was when I saw the same person making the most complex PCBs and really building the most complex 5G systems that is available today. Hats off. And I think the transformation that has taken place, number of people who have jumped, Mohan Shankar was one of the early ones, but many others who got into and started building things and making things. That is the biggest job. Greatest regret? 2 of my favorite students, I carried them on my shoulder, their dead bodies. 3rd one passed recently, whom I had personally very, very much involved. I don't know whether you people, anyone remember a person named Vivek. He was there in my first class. I don't even remember his second name. Probably nobody else knows. 1981, he was there in my first class. Probably son of a IAS officer or something, fairly rich man. By the time I met him, I attended a few classes. After that, he disappeared. And I found out that heavy drug addict, heavy liquor, very intelligent, but comes to no class, barely passes. Somehow I got to know him. I tried to persuade him. Otherwise, he is good, very nice person. So he used to talk to me, but evening comes and he's disappeared. And then one day we heard there was a very big accident in Delhi Avenue and Banyan Avenue crossing. Those two big bumps that you see, was not there. They were built right after his accident. He was coming in his Enfield, Royal Enfield, 1 a.m. in the night, probably drugged, and something came and hit him. Every bone of his was broken. Next day, by the time I went to the hospital, there's very little chance of his survival. I kept in touch. One by one, operation took place. Fortunately, he got the best care. His father was very well off. 6 months later, he walks in on a crutches to my room and says, "Sir, I've learned my lesson. Help me graduate." He had finished quite a few courses, but he had a lot of backlogs. I remember I was, by the way, first head of guidance and counseling unit. That's part of the reason I formed the guidance and counseling unit. So I used to interact with them. So I took him to professors, various professors. Somebody gave makeup exam. Somebody got him to do something. Got him to clear most of the courses. He did some projects with me. And somehow he got his BTech degree. 5.7 CGPA. He was amongst the topper. When he came in, I probably very high JE rank holder. He told me, "Sir, what do I do with this? I want to study further. Can I do MS with you?" I said, "Why not? Here in IIT, in fiber optics lab, we'll do that." Only then I found out that with 5.7 or 5.8 CGPA, first class you can't enter MS. I ran pillar to post, one after another. I think Professor Indresan was still the director, so I'm maybe getting my dates off. Talking, pleading with everybody. Somehow get him admitted. With some, maybe not in the beginning, give him 6 months, and get him to admitted. He will do some courses. Something special was done. He was admitted. He did well. He worked in fiber optics lab. He worked on devices. And 2 years that he stayed, he was much better also. He still had number of rods in his body, but he said, "Sir, now I've learned a lot here, but still nowhere that what I think I can I go abroad?" So I helped him. I knew somebody in RPI, wrote to him saying, "Don't look at his undergraduate. He's doing very well. He has done this kind of work." He got admitted. He did so well in his PhD that by the time his PhD publications came out, he was straight away taken as a faculty at ISC Bangalore. His publications were very well. He was working in optical devices, fiber optical devices, APD, avalanche photodiodes. 2 years, you can start seeing him flourishing. Probably amongst our best student. He got, I think, Swarna Jayanti Fellowship or award sometime 88, 89, some DST big award he got. He was starting to be known. And I was fairly certain that someday he can get, this was 94, 95, so somewhere around that period. 86, 87, 88 only he finished his MS, then went to US, came back 95, 96. We were looking at that he will make a huge mark. 98, 99 probably, around that time. I had got Bhatnagar by that time. So, one day he comes back. I used to come meet me. Very nice man. He was married. He had a child. And one day he comes and says, "Sir, this is my last rod inside my body. Tomorrow, I have an accident. I have an operation. And the last rod will be removed. Will be a new man." I got the information, operation was successful. That evening I went and met him. He was very joyful. He was talking about what can be done in various things. Next morning, I hear that he passed away. A blood clot during the operation went and hit him. And I remember I had to carry his body. There was not the only one. Another bright person, Deepak Kanchandani, very, very bright. Number of habits which didn't help him. Again, he passed away. Again, I had to virtually carry. And of course, recently, Rene Abraham, many of you have read that. There, of course, he was not here, but somebody very dear to me, and somebody whom I had worked very closely to really make him successful. We have worked with many, many people. So those are regrets. When your student dies, your heart breaks. I mean, I don't know how it feels, but this is one thing I remember very well. There is one last thing that I wanted to say. So that's one thing that breaks. Other than that, I think we have done whatever I could do. We are trying to get a new CEO for the research park, and hopefully we'll get soon. I'll be able to hand over. Today I have to work 14 hours, worse than what was before, because there are people who are very jealous, and there's a lot of asset they want to capture. There are a lot of people who keep creating problems. I didn't come often to Bhaskar because I knew that. But now it has become worse in recent time. But anyway, I'm handling most of them. Hopefully, I'll close most of them before I step down. I will continue to be a mentor. I'll continue to be associated as an institute professor with IIT to the extent that it allows. I think I from what I remember, you can be a joint guide. But I like to inspire people, youngsters, teach them. If you get time sometime over next 1 month, come and see. I have 100 youngsters working on something totally new, something fantastic at Research Park. 50 of them are students from different engineering college. Engineering college, tier 2, tier 3, even tier 4 engineering colleges. And what these youngsters can do if are a little bit inspired, this is what India is about, these youngsters. And if we can just enable them, that will take India forward. And I hope to continue to work on that. Otherwise, I'm doing very well. Fortunately, I have decent health. And I'll continue. Thank you.